There we go.
Okay, we're live. Let's hit the intro and get right into it. Might be a short one today. Welcome. This is the Roto Hackers podcast. My name is Judah Buddha. I'm here with It's Jared, the ultimate stud, the absolute stud, and we are not joined right now by AJ Herschel. He had some things to do. He's on assignment, as we say, but we are here to give you some unauthorized fantasy goodness. And Jared, how was your weekend? How'd you fare?
It's about 50-50. It was I lost a couple of games that I could have won if I had played. They were exactly the same situation. I lost both of them by 8-point-something points. And I could have won if I had played Melvin Gordon over Tyson Williams. And I did debate that one, but I thought, Tyson Williams got more carries in week 2. The Lions defense is terrible. As long as he gets, about the same amount of carries. And then, the Ravens just gave him nothing. I mean, the Ravens backfield now is just a complete mess.
Well, I did hear someone say that they thought they were worried about Tyson Williams because he made mistakes that coaches hate, in the blocking, things that we don't see when we're watching, Right. But still, I mean, he still got half the carries. He split them with Latavius Murray. I don't think they were too far apart in carries.
I'll have to go back and see what the total carries were. I mean, he had 5, and he had like 2 until late in the fourth quarter. So, I don't know if they just,
I just don't think there were a lot of carries.
Yeah. So,
well,
no Ravens running backs did well. So Latavius had 7 and Devonta Freeman had 3. So he had, and then Lamar, of course, Lamar rushes for 7. So, I mean, he basically had, I mean, if you don't count Lamar, then he had a third of the carries. And right. if you do count Lamar, then he had, like 22% or something like that. So that's not going to cut it.
Well, it's still hard to, I mean, who's going to pick Melvin Gordon over, the shiny new toy and the guy who we all thought would probably have a lot of carries. But how are you? Do you have anything writing tonight on this game?
Yeah, I've got some that are still undecided. Technically undecided. Most of them are pretty well settled at this point. If Dak and CD, there's a league where I was kind of about even with the other guy coming in, and he had Ezekiel Elliott and Miles Sanders. I have Dak and CD Lamb, and I thought I could probably win that one by a few, but so far it's entirely a Zeke game, pretty much. So
yeah. Well, I mean, my hopes are up. One of the only. Maybe there's 2 Yahoo leagues. Of all my Yahoo leagues, the Roto Hackers one is the only one I think I'm losing. I might be losing in Big League, but I need my opponent Anthony to not get 5 points or 6 or something like that. So far, so good. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to hold up.
It kind of depends on who you've got. I mean,
my opponent has Hurts.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Jalen is off to a rough start.
Yeah, let's see. So he's only got 1.28 points. So if he doubles that, I'm fine. But I'm not holding out hope. I mean, he's a pretty good he's a decent quarterback.
I mean, if nothing else, it seems like he'll get a garbage time score or something, you know.
Something. I mean, he's not going to go the whole game without getting, at least. So how many yards would he need passing?
Well, the thing with him though is, he can break a run. I mean,
that's right.
If he gets a touchdown, so
you'd only need 50 yards running. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm not getting my hopes up, but it is kind of interesting. All right. So the other leagues I'm in, I can't stand sleeper leagues. Have you ever played in a sleeper league?
No.
They're the worst. It's just hard to understand. One of them's an IDP league, and I shouldn't make excuses, but I hate IDP leagues. I mean, to me, it feels like you have 5 extra kickers. It's like they could make 10, they could make 2. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I just need to do more research. But yeah, I have a lot of Kamara who did well, and I reverse cursed
Matt Stafford.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford. I feel like anybody who I complain about on our chat ends up blowing up. So I tried reverse cursing a bunch of people, but it didn't work on everybody. What do you think about tonight? Do you think it's just going to be? It doesn't look very good. Like you were saying, for other than for maybe the running backs, particularly Elliott, doesn't look like it's going to be a bonanza by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. Yeah.
Elliott already has 23 points in a PPR league.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, if they keep this up, then Pollard's probably going to get some more. As they'll start feeding him a little bit.
Which you have both Elliott and Pollard in a league.
Yeah. I mean, I stashed Pollard, in a lot of leagues where I had Zeke, but yeah, in one of our leagues where, it's a private league, it's there's an extra receiver position, that, our receiver depth is pretty sparse in that league anyway. So in my flex, I'm going with another running back. So yeah, I actually started both of them. Because Pollard had 21.5 points last week. He's got 5.6 already this week.
Yeah.
So
he's gonna do fine.
Yeah, Pollard's looking like he could be a flex play each week.
Real quick, in case Charlie Sigmund doesn't stick around, I want to read his question. I'm 0-3, and I need a win next week. Of course, you do. Yes. Although one league I went 0-5 and once and won the league. That was just kind of fluky though. Who would I target for CMC? Would you trade CMC? Because I think my suspicions were right. I do not think that. I think he's only out 2 weeks, 3 weeks at the most.
See, I don't know. I hope that's true because I have him in 4 or 5 leagues. But they didn't put him on IR, but they didn't put him on IR last year either. I don't think. I think they just kept him around because they didn't want, it was an optics move where they wanted fans to have some hope as opposed to just being like, yeah, he's gone for the year. So going through that once, I worry like, oh, maybe we're going to do the same thing again.
Burn me once. But you have to admit, just logically, by how it looked, he didn't. Mm-hmm. It didn't look too painful, when he was walking around on it, and hamstrings that are, it's separated from the bone. It would have been painful and almost impossible for him to walk on, and I couldn't even tell which side he was walking on.
Right.
Which side was hurt.
I'm just checking out a Cowboys.
Oh, big catch!
I don't
Number
think
one.
Did he get was the other foot down? Did he get both of them down? I don't know.
It looks like they called it a catch.
They called it a catch, but I'm not sure if that other one.
Who's number one?
I don't remember. Is it?
Oh no! That was only 1 foot.
Yeah, because there was
Wilson.
one. Yeah, there was one that was up in the air. It looked like it was a. Yeah.
Well, so as a McCaffrey owner yourself, is there anybody that you're targeting? Would you trade? I mean, it sounds like you're down on him. Would you trade him? And who would you? I mean, we'd all trade, but for what would be the price that would?
I mean, I think
decent.
I think you start high and see what somebody else is willing to give you. You know, I mean,
I bet somebody would be willing to give you a Saquon Barkley and you know what I mean, like a Saquon Barkley and one of these Trey Sermon or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Right. Yeah, and I think too, it always it depends on your circumstances too. Like if you're 3-0. Then you might want to hold off a little bit. If you're 3-0 and you have Chuba Hubbard, then that's even more reason to hold off a little bit. So I think, it kind of depends, just like Charlie Zigman's question there is, if you're 0-3, then you need to try to find somebody who can help you immediately. So I think
who
that's
would
part
you
of
suggest? I think Saquon Barkley would be a good target.
Yeah, I mean Barkley could be, but I mean you never know like what Eckler and Marvin. I mean the Eckler part of it is pretty nice. Eckler I was wrong about. I think we were all wrong about him. We were worried about him and not expecting much.
Yeah.
I would maybe keep that one out there and see and ask for, see if they would do Eckler and if they have a better receiver. I mean, not aim super high, but you could always keep that and then see if they accept it, But I think, I mean, the way Eckler's playing right now, that's not necessarily a terrible deal.
Yeah. And you know what you think? You know what I think you could probably get is Eckler and sort of this range, Eckler and Gronkowski. I think some people are worried about Gronkowski just because I'm a big Gronkowski owner and seeing him get hurt and just doubting that he's going to be able to keep this up the whole way. You might be able to get like an Eckler and Gronkowski. Gronkowski's the number 2 tight end right now, Who else do you think?
I mean, there's a ton of receivers out there, so I don't know who all else is on that guy's roster, but at least if he's got an offer of Eckler and I don't love Eckler and Marvin as much. I'd love to see maybe Chase. I mean, Chase isn't getting a ton of targets, but I mean they've got that connection. Maybe.
I would definitely do Chase. Although Chase is somebody I'm thinking about trading away right now, just because. Going by the rule, like there's so many wide receivers. I really want to get a good, get running back depth.
Yeah, I mean, Chase's touchdown. I mean, he's gonna have touchdown regression at some point. I mean, he's got like 4 through 3 games or something like that. So,
but if he offers, I mean, going for that Eckler, I'd go Eckler Chase, no problem. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's reasonable, and you may not be able to be too picky at this point. Again, 0-3, you need to get a couple of wins here in the next few weeks. So
yeah. But the difficulty is, Charlie, I would not trade CMC, and I wouldn't trade him for Eckler in this because of this reason. If you trade CMC and he's down for 3-4 weeks and then he's good the rest of the year, and then Eckler gets hurt in 2 weeks, which with this kind of usage, he's not less immune than CMC. I would instead try my darndest to get what's the Chuba Hubbard. I think if you just have Chuba Hubbard, it'll give you that peace of mind. He's not going to get CMC type of production, but he'll at least get you the kind of he'll get you enough carries to carry you through. But then again, I really have to know the rest of your team, Charlie. Like what plenty of people have been winning with CMC. It worries me, I guess, that he's 3-0 because that means that first week when CMC went off, he was not able to win. He's got Najee. I think Najee's solid for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, he's double digits. He should be. I mean, the first 2 weeks, he's still getting used to the offense. I mean, right now, he's their best receiving option that's healthy. AJ Brown going down in week 3. Yeah, that was tough. But AJ Brown's going to be up and down. I mean, whether he's in or he's going to be back next week.
Yeah, AJ Brown. Oh, is AJ Brown going to be back next week? Do we know that?
Yeah, it was just a COVID thing, and so
no, Antonio Brown. You mean?
Oh, AJ Brown. Oh yeah, I'm thinking Antonio Brown. No, AJ Brown. What's up, Crypto-E? That's Ben. Hey guys, am I gonna win or nah? I think my odds are good. I didn't check to see. Sorry, Charlie. I didn't realize. I was thinking of Antonio Brown, not AJ Brown. No, I'm not too hopeful about AJ Brown. And even when he was in, he wasn't. I mean, he's kind of boom or bust regardless.
Yeah, the Titans passing game is it's interesting. It's they're having a lot of spreading the ball around. Even like Julio's not really doing a whole lot. Wonder how happy Julio is in Tennessee because he wanted to get out of he wanted to get out of Atlanta. If you're going to a better situation, sure, but then you go to Tennessee, and that's not a better passing situation when they have Derrick Henry to run the ball, and they already have AJ Brown, and they have a play action dependent quarterback who's just lost his offensive coordinator to the team that you're leaving. It's just, I don't know, Julio.
It might turn out to be okay. All right. Like it just might need some time.
It might, but
and especially with AJ down now, he might be the big banana there.
It's possible, but we'll see. I don't know. So far it's not going super well. So I listen. I would never fault anyone for trying to get away from the Falcons.
Yeah, that's right. What are you talking about?
But I mean, if you don't move into a better situation, then
right. Crypto-E Ben. I just looked at your matchup. I think you have a great chance of winning. He's got Rager in this game. He's got Rager, Pollard, and Ezekiel Elliott, and all he needs is 18 points.
Right now it's projected for him to win by a point and a half. Yeah. That's gonna be
close.
That could be tight. Yeah. I don't know.
All you need is a touchdown from Rager, and
I would bet on a touchdown from Pollard or Elliott again, as opposed to a touchdown from Rager. I'd probably be happy with Rager getting a few catches.
Yeah. Well, what can we tackle that was in the news? Did we miss anything on Saturday or anything that happened on Sunday? One of the big let's just go to the takeaways from Sunday's games. Obviously, one of the big takeaways is that the Titans are a mess right now. Let's just apropos to AJ Brown by Charlie Zigman. His team.
I mean, for fantasy purposes, in the real world, they're 2-1, and on top of the division,
and they have like a dynamic running back and plenty of weapons.
Mm-hmm.
But from a fantasy perspective, it's hard to trust any of those weapons. Even Henry, I'd say. I mean,
I'll always trust Henry. I mean, he's not going to be King Henry, King Derek, whatever, the King, every week. But man, I mean, that guy just can deliver such monster games.
I mean, he's like a train. He really is.
Yeah.
If you let him get up to speed, you can't stop him. You just can't. And
right.
Honestly, I mean, for all my talk about like it's easy to stop him in the behind the line it's not easy. Obviously, it's not easy. It's hard. It's really hard. He like any running back, if he gets any kind of momentum, it's really difficult. But if he gets momentum, he's not like any other running back. He's a train, and anybody gets in his way is going to get run over.
Yeah,
there's no derailing that guy.
So I mean, just some takeaways from me. We some of the guys that we talked about maybe bouncing back or starting to catch on a little bit did that. Saquon Barkley had the Falcons. James Robinson came back with a good game. It looks like, someone has finally talked Urban Meyer into, doing some not trying to get too cute with all this stuff. And just give your top running back carries and throw him the ball and, all these nice things. It's interesting to see where teams are, right now. I mean, Kansas City's 1-2.
They're at the bottom of their division.
They're at the bottom of their division. Yeah. Vegas and Denver, both 3-0. Chargers 2-1. That's kind of crazy. Pittsburgh's 1-2. Ben Roethlisberger looks horrible.
He looks like garbage. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if they have, do they have a better option there? I don't know.
Well, no, they don't. And you have Deontay down. You have now you have Juju down.
Mm-hmm.
What are his passing options? I mean,
Najee.
Yeah,
that's his passing.
That's
option.
it. Najee, and a rookie running back.
Yeah.
So I have Najee in one spot. I'm pretty excited about him. You can't rely on these guys, though. I mean, just from a fantasy perspective, if you have somebody who's doing well, you have to temper your expectations when they're on a terrible team. Mm-hmm. I mean, as you can see, it's not unthinkable for a team to get 0 points on offense. They may get 7 points on defense, but
Yeah, unless you're Brandon Cooks this year, in which case you just seem to be able to overcome all circumstances.
So far, but I have the same interpretations for him. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing is we also have to remind ourselves that in football, we can't predict how well a team. For example, everybody thought that the Lions were going to be dog trash, but they're turning out to have a pretty decent defense, and their offense is clicking pretty well. I'm not saying they're going to win their division.
Well, again, we have to kind of separate like some fantasy from the real NFL, where
I mean, but they almost won that last game.
Yeah, but they're
still all their games have been close. I don't think they've been blown out yet.
I mean, well, they're 0-3. They have kept it close. They kept it close with the I mean, I guess Green Bay was their worst, in Green Bay was their worst game, and that's
to be expected.
Understandable. I mean, and their schedule will get better. They get Chicago, Minnesota, Cincinnati, then the Rams, then Philadelphia. So yeah, it would be interesting to see what the Lions would be with receivers. I mean, they have
with some good
they have
receivers.
they have no receivers. They got a great tight end. They've got 2 good running backs, and they've got
a pretty good line.
Jones.
Their line seems to be holding up pretty well. Their O line.
Yeah.
Now their quarterback, he's pedantic, but he's banal and pedantic. But yeah, they're putting up a fight except against the Packers.
But that's understandable in Green Bay. I mean,
well, that's another thing we need to talk about. Now that we can talk freely since AJ's not here. That Bears team looks atrocious, dumpster fire level atrocious.
Yeah,
I am so sorry that I picked up anybody from that team. In particular, I really only have one piece, and that is Robinson. And man, it's hurt me. I mean, him and Woods are the 2 pieces that I've picked up that I regret the most so far.
Yeah.
Now, so far, I think Woods probably will bounce back. I'm not so confident that Robinson's going to bounce back.
I'm not either. I drafted very little. It seems like with my teams, it's always the same story in a lot of ways. I seem to not draft the busts, but I don't like. I have no. I think I have no shares of Cooper Kupp this year.
Me neither. Yeah, me neither.
He would be a great person to have all the shares of. But I avoided a lot of busts. Out of 21 leagues, I have 1 share of Allen Robinson, and I took David Montgomery into 2 $50 leagues, and I feel way better about my David Montgomery shares than I feel about Robinson because Montgomery doesn't need, it doesn't have to be right. I mean, it helps. But I'm trying to trade Allen Robinson for just almost anybody. Now, I will say the one thing that could change with that a little bit is in the midst of the Bears dumpster fire, Matt Nagy said that they're not sure who's going to start this week. It could be Fields, it could be Dalton, it could be Foles. So maybe if it's Foles, that could give a little bit of hope. But like I didn't watch that game.
So I watched a lot of it.
So I don't know. You can then speak more to how much was just the offensive line, was Fields contributing to the sacks, but Fields got sacked. The last count I saw was nine times.
It's hard to tell because he barely had a chance.
Yeah.
So sometimes I wonder, what really bothers me in some ways and sort of flummoxes me is how can the offensive line be so different? It's the same players, but it's so different from one quarterback to another. You see this a lot. I don't know if it's because I think a lot of it is this connection, right? Like you kind of feel them moving, you kind of just know from experience where they're going to go from practicing with them. And maybe they think he's going to run, he's going to break the pocket. And so they're trying to second guess themselves. It's got to be something like that because they did not do this bad. It's mostly the same guys. I think they must have lost somebody but they look completely different with Dalton.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton at least was functional. He's throwing the ball. As much of the game I saw, I don't think I saw one completion from Fields.
I think they said I'd have to go back and look at the stats, but I think, the Bears gained something like 45 yards of offense total. And I think Fields netted like single digits or something if you factor in all the sacks. So
sad.
Anthony has a question. Says after getting 22 touches, producing 95 yards and getting his first touchdown of the 2021 season, is Saquon Barkley back as a must-start RB in all formats. I mean, if you drafted him with the way the landscape is for running backs, I think probably so.
Yeah.
Are
you excited about it though?
Well, here's my worry with it is, his touches are going up, which is good. And hopefully if he's recovered enough, then he can overcome some of the shortcomings of the Giants offense. And what worries me though really is the schedule coming up for a little while, because he's got New Orleans next week. They've held the run down pretty well. Then Dallas is holding the run down pretty well. Then the Rams, and then Carolina. So that's a pretty tough 4-game stretch. And then he's got Kansas City and the Raiders, and then a bye, and then comes back with Tampa. It's not, I mean, to be in the NFC East, that's not a terribly friendly schedule to me for a running back.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what scares me, is not just his schedule, but the idea that he's a guy coming back off of a major injury. And we saw, as I mentioned this before, we saw this with Cooks, Dalvin Cook.
Cook singular.
Yeah. Cook, yeah. Dalvin Cook, when he came back from his AC, I think it was an ACL tear in a similar situation, it wasn't that he hobbled around or limped or anything. It wasn't that he had terrible play. It was just that he wasn't the 100% elite status that that in that first year when he came back. Now the next year, and of course this year he's dealing with injuries again, but there just is that coming back. It's just going to be slow, and maybe by the end of the year, Saquon is 100%. And in the playoffs, you're killing it. Who does he have in the playoffs? What teams?
So I think they're both division matches. Let's see. They are sorry, I've got I'm still trying to get used to it not being week 15 and 16. It's 16 and 17. So it's at Philadelphia in week 16, the day after Christmas. And then at Chicago in January 2nd. So that's not,
they're not easy, but they're not hard.
Yeah.
They're not easy. I would say they're not impossible. Like at least he's not playing Tampa Bay, right? He's not playing the Ravens, although the Ravens don't look great these days. But
right,
I still, I think it's gonna. If you can make it to the playoffs, I'd be happy to have him in the playoffs. Like I said, I'm trading for him because I think his trajectory is going up. Whereas some of these other running backs, I'm a little worried about. Particularly anybody on the Ravens or 49ers. What was that? I mean, that was just ugly.
Yeah.
That whole game, I enjoyed the game because I'm a Packers fan and I love the end. But man, I was playing a lot of 49ers in fantasy, and they got more points than it looked, right? Like Sermon ended up with double digits. And Jimmy Polo ended up with 22, or so. He ended up in the 20s for a quarterback. But it was not it was ugly.
Yeah. There's not a lot of consistency to the 49ers right now. Kittle had a good game. I mean, he still didn't score, so it wasn't, some monster game, but it was encouraging to see him he got as many targets in that game as he had combined in the first two. And he had almost as much yardage as he had in the first two games combined. So that was nice. Debo dropped off a little bit. They started to get Brandon Ayuk a little more involved. It's just the 49ers are hard to trust because, I mean, a lot of teams have multiple weapons and they can support those weapons. Tampa Bay or even Cincinnati or a team like that, even Pittsburgh to a certain extent. even though they're not scoring a ton of points. So a lot of that's just like Deontay Johnson getting a ton of receptions, or Najee Harris getting, his numbers boosted because he's not rushing for much, but he's getting a ton of receptions. San Francisco can't seem to do that. San Francisco can't seem to support multiple players. Like Debo's had 2 monster games. Mitchell had a monster game in week 1. And then, after that, it's just kind of streaky. So I don't know that that's going to get any better unless they maybe turn to Trey Lance at some point this season, and Trey Lance shows that he's good enough to do that. And I don't think either one of us have been like super convinced that that's going to happen.
I mean, I'd say just look at Justin Fields for any kind of like model of how it may go. Now their offensive line's a little bit better than the Bears. Yeah, I think their offensive line's better. However, I mean, rookie quarterbacks. The another model I'd go to is actually Lamar Jackson. His rookie year, I remember picking him up everywhere, and just thinking, okay, it's Lamar Jackson time. Boom, he's the next Mahomes. He's gonna, the next RG3. No, he averaged about 10, 12 fantasy points for a quarterback a game as a rookie. And so I wouldn't expect him to do great miracles, Trey Lance. Now, the question is can they can they bring it together? Did they suffer enough at the beginning so they get it out of the way? Kind of like they get all their losses, they work it out, and by the end they come out strong. We'll see.
Yeah. Charlie has another question asking, do we like Dawson Knox, Conklin, or Max Williams most in PPR? You go ahead.
What do you think? I like Max. I like Max Williams. There's just something I've always liked about him. These other guys are newbies. I wouldn't trust any of them. Max Williams has had steady, not like fantasy significant, but enough to say, he knows his way around the tight end position, catching, in the offense, being a person of receptions as a tight end. I think those three.
I like that description. Being a person of receptions as a tight end. Okay.
I mean, just knowing that like tight ends have to do a lot of jobs, and receptions for these particular Joe Schmoes like these guys, a lot of it has to do with blocking, and I've seen him more involved in the active offense game, particularly getting receptions, being part of the game plan as far as routes go.
I don't love any of them. I'm a little bit inclined to lean towards Dawson Knox, even though his targets, he has less targets than Conklin. I'm not sure if he has less targets than Max Williams. No, he's got more than Max Williams. So Knox is in his 3rd year. We've talked about it before, where the 3rd year is kind of that golden key year for tight ends to maybe break out a little bit. He was a 3rd round pick. All 3 of these.
He's with who's he with?
Buffalo.
He's with the Bills, right? Yeah.
Buffalo. Yeah.
Yeah. He's also been targeted quite a bit by his quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah, and so these guys are all 3 in similar situations where they're in offenses with multiple good receivers. They're not the first option. They're not the second option. They're not the third option. Maybe they're the fourth option or the fifth option. Really not even that, because you start thinking about the quarterback running it or throwing to a running back or whatever. So they're way down the list. All of them are pretty far down the list in terms of what option they are in the passing game. Maybe one thing that I like about, again, besides the fact that Knox is in his 3rd year.
You like Knox?
I like Knox. Yeah, I mean, I mean, again, not. There's not.
You're
Any
not running
reason,
out
like,
to get him off the
head
waiver
over.
wire.
No, no. But I think maybe a difference I would look at with that team versus some of the others is, with Conklin, he's in Minnesota where, Adam Thielen is a red zone target. He gets a ton of those. Williams is in Arizona. You've got DeAndre Hopkins. You've got AJ Green. Knox in Buffalo.
And Rondell Moore.
Although Moore's kind of small. And where I was going with this was, in Buffalo, they don't have their receivers are small. I mean, Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley. So they have smaller receivers, and if you're looking for a bigger target in the end zone, then Dawson Knox at 6'4", that's not huge for a tight end. We've got 6'5", 6'6" tight ends, but compared to a bunch of 5'11", receivers, that's pretty good. So that's the fact that he's in his third year, and the fact that he's got a little bit of size that kind of differentiates him from some of those other targets would maybe be why I would lean to him.
I love that analysis. That's why you guys tuned in. That is good stuff. Just coming at it from a different perspective, looking at this guy, he's got when Josh Allen is in a pickle, he typically runs. Although lately he hasn't been. He's been looking for Knox. So I think that kind of makes sense. He's looking for that big body. He's looking for that jump ball. I love it.
Yeah.
Anthony says Hurts in the first half of the game, and I think he's talking about the player Hurts, but he may not be. Got me a whopping 3.38 points in the listener league, where he needs 6 points to beat me. Judah Buddha's projection has risen to 14%.
Well,
like 6.
And Hurts started the second half by throwing a pick six. So it's now
he get benched. That's my hope.
So he might
bench him?
He might be even. Let's see what he's at now in point total. He's at 3.5 points now. So yeah.
So what's going on? Maybe he's going to go down. Are they reviewing it or something?
That's a good question. It kind of went to commercial, so I didn't see if.
I think they're probably reviewing it or something.
Okay.
So it's probably going to go down further. My hope is that they bench him, right? I mean, hey, we're down this much. Give the kid a break, right? Just rest him. No need to get him buried any further. Who's the backup for Hurts? Do we know?
I don't know without looking if it's let's see. I don't know if it's always that guy that I can't remember his name, but he's always there. No, it's not. It's someone I was thinking. I guess it ended up being Flacco, and then
Flacco,
and then they traded for Minshew, but I guess he's out right now, I think.
Oh, okay. So. I was gonna say maybe it's Fu Manchu time. Fu Minshew time. All right, Hunter says, "Hey guys, I have a question. Someone offered me Derrick Henry and Marquise Brown for Nick Chubb and Tyreek Hill. Do I accept PPR league? I mean, these I tend to my initial feeling is Derrick Henry, elite running back, stick with him. Wide receivers everywhere, But I don't know it. Then I look closer.
He's getting Henry.
Oh, then do it. Yeah.
See, I would disagree. I would say, as much as I love Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb is lower.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you still got Chubb and Tyreek Hill. You're essentially trading two guys that are back end first round picks, or in the case of Hill, maybe. Hill was going first round. I mean, they're back end first round picks for a guy who's maybe the number one player in the league, if C-Mac is down. But it's just a little too much for me. It's a little too much for me.
Now, you could trade Chubb away Chubb and Tyreek both. I think you're trading at their low, right? Both Chubb and Tyreek are coming off of really bad weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody only remembers Derrick Henry's 60-point week, Now Marquise dropped freaking 100 balls yesterday. I was just begging him to catch one of them. Like near the end zone. I think if anything, it's just a wash. It's definitely not a do it. I don't know. If you like Henry, I mean, this is the thing, is if you would enjoy the game so much more if you had Henry. I would personally, I don't know. I like watching Chubb.
Yeah.
He's fun to watch.
So,
And
I mean, right now, Henry's had I'm going to just take off fractional points and either round up or round down. A 9-point game, basically a 9-point game, 45-point game, and an 18-point game. Tyreek Hill had that big first week where he had 31, nearly 32, and then he's had 4 and 7, and then Chubb has had 21, 16, and then 8. So I know we're thinking about that big game by Derrick Henry, and you'll get those. You'll also get some of those with Tyreek Hill, and you're also going to get some big ones with Nick Chubb. As much as I love Derrick Henry, I would trade a lot for Derrick Henry, but I think what amounts to 2 first-round picks who are both doing well, just kind of coming off of a down week. If you reversed Henry's schedule and he was coming off a 9-point game, you wouldn't be trading for the guy coming off the 9-point game. So I would not do that deal.
Yeah, I agree. Don't do it. Charlie says, do we like George Kittle or Logan Thomas rest of the season? Trading the others so their value is also important. As a Logan Thomas, I am a Logan Thomas owner, and I have really enjoyed having him. Just solid. He's been solid. Other than Gronk, and Gronk had a bad week, and he's injured. I don't know if you noticed, he went on the injured list. But other than him and Kelsey, I mean, tight end's been a wasteland. This week,
well, Hawkinson. And
Hawk
had a terrible week.
He had a bad week,
but he had 2 monster weeks. Yeah.
What would you think?
So I think for me, it kind of depends on, again, what will someone give you? I think your return on Logan Thomas is going to be pretty low. I don't, if someone would give you like preseason Kittle value, I would probably be willing to do that, because it's, Kittle, he had an injury plagued season last year. The 49ers just don't seem to have a ton of consistency on offense. It's a little bit different now than it was a couple of years ago for him, where they have Deebo Samuel, they have Brandon Ayuk. If they start using, both of them consistently, but it's almost kind of like Kittle's situation now, or Kittle's situation a couple of years ago is kind of like what it is for Hawkinson this year, where his team just doesn't have any wide receivers, and so they have to just constantly throw to him. Kittle, I'm not sure going forward is really going to be deserving of being this like 3rd round draft pick in future seasons. So I think if you could get someone to give you
an elite running back.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For an elite running back. If you
get Chubb for him, boom, do it.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody's going to do that, but
what if you could get CMC?
Yeah. I don't think I would, those are lofty. Those are lofty aims. I don't know if anybody's going to do that, but if someone's going to give you, like a 2nd round talent for him or something like that, for Kittle.
I mean, so the thing that worries me about him, he's got Seattle. I don't think that'll be too tough. Then he's got Arizona, and then he's got a bye. So it's like if you're gonna trade him quick because nobody's gonna buy him on his buy. Nobody's gonna buy him with his buy coming up, and those are tough teams to play against for tight ends.
Yeah, I know people worry about selling low on someone.
This would be high. This is the highest. He's 13.6 points. As opposed to his 3 and 9 in previous games.
Yeah. I just, you look at what he's done in past seasons, and there's definitely a temptation to be like, I want to hold on to him, but I just if you have a need at another position, wide receiver is so deep that I can't imagine that you need a wide receiver unless you're in a deep league. But if you need a running back, then maybe you can find somebody who's got 3 good running backs, 4 good running backs, and doesn't have a good tight end. You could trade them Kittle, and they could, they could trade away someone without it really hurting them. So a lot of times you have to kind of look for. That's what I do when I'm analyzing a trade. I look at, okay, what do I need? What do I have? Do I have anything extra that I can trade? And then I go look for a team whose needs match up, with mine. And so you might could find that situation out. Like I have a team where I just have an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver. If I can find this team real quick, let's see. Now that I want to, I probably won't be able to do it. But anyway, you can go ahead.
Well, would you do it for Hunt? Straight up, Kittle for Hunt.
That's a tough. I offered Allen Robinson for Hunt.
For Hunt,
straight up. Yeah. I don't know if I would want to do Kittle. I mean, it would depend on how big your need was.
Do you think he could get? I mean, who's kind of like a second round, third round running back that you think he could get? So probably who were we talking about earlier? We probably get the likes of Najee Harris, maybe.
I can't imagine someone would be stupid to trade Najee
Eckler?
for him. Again, I mean, if I was on the other side, I would not.
There's no way I would do that.
No. So you have to kind of put yourself in that position and say, would you do it? Let's see.
Okay. What about this? What about James Robinson off a big game? They're trying to sell high. You're trying to sell high. Would you do that? Would you take a Robinson?
I mean, I like Robinson's. Trajectory. I would really hate to do that just because it's not a guaranteed thing. But I think I think maybe someone that would be maybe you could see if someone would give you a Jonathan Taylor, who is just, he 14 points and then 6, 7. I think the Colts are going to bounce back to a certain extent, at least for fantasy purposes.
But does he have? Who's the other?
You've got Nahim Hines.
Does he have a Nahim Hines problem though?
I mean, potentially, but it's you don't know what it's going to look like week to week. It's more so, I think, about vulturing the occasional touchdown, but I think the Colts are going to ride that running game. I think it can support multiple running backs, assuming they get going.
All right. Are there any wide receivers that you would think about?
I think wide receiver.
Would you take Chase? Would you take Chase for Kittle?
No,
you wouldn't.
No.
I think I would.
I'm afraid of touchdown regression.
Yeah.
I mean, wide receiver is so deep. I mean, it's not this isn't true of every league I have, but I have a league. It's $100 league where my receiver lineup, and I have good running backs too. I have Barkley, Mixon, Miles Sanders, and I guess that's it. And I have Mark Andrews as my
Sanders.
Well, I know, but I mean, he as a third running back, whatever, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's not. But my receivers are Metcalf, DJ Moore, Mike Williams, Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks, Jamar Chase, and Juju. I mean, I have 6 guys who I'd be happy to play at any time, and I can only get 3 in the lineup. So, I mean, wide receiver depth is just so crazy this year.
Yeah, it really is. And it doesn't seem to be getting, a lot of it comes from this sort of air raid type mentality that's going through the NFL where it's just throw, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're seeing, we saw this in the first week, 50 throws was not uncommon for a team, right? Mm-hmm. In the first week. Now it's regressed a little bit, but 40 throws a game is not crazy anymore. Yeah. That's normal.
Yeah.
And so out of 40 throws, you're going to have a lot of wide receivers getting points, especially in a PPR league. I mean, if you're in a PPR league these days, wide receivers everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any update on the game?
It is still 27-7. We're still like, it's dragging now. It's only like not even barely 4 minutes into the third quarter. Yeah, it's dragging.
Oh man, it looks bad. I hope they pull Hurts. That would be great for my brand. All right. Let's see. The Chosen.
So, we need to get to waiver wire stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Hunter says thanks. They were talking about Minshew, Flacco, maybe even McCown. The Chosen. Hey, the Chosen Rose. Haven't seen it in a while, man. Who's number 1 waiver wire ad this week? Do you trust Peyton Barber, Alexander Madison, or Chuba? I trust Chuba. The others, I do not. I do think Chuba is going to be great for 2 weeks at least. And you're saying maybe more.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could potentially get a guy that's in there for 3, 4, 5 weeks. And I don't know that for sure, but you can't trust the Panthers. You can't say like, oh, well, they're not putting Christian McCaffrey on IR, so they think he's good. Not necessarily. That might be it, or it might be like last year where they're like, well, if we let everybody know that he's out for the season, then fan interest is just going to tank. So let's keep people on the hook here for for another week.
For ticket sales.
Right.
Well, let's call in the Calvary. Hey, Jay Herschel, the kid, the cameraman, to
hello.
The discussion. How are you feeling about Chuba Hubbard? Are you going to go out and spend all your fab on him?
No, I'm probably not going to spend all my fab on him, but being that in Roto Hackers especially, I'm very, very light at running back, I might be forced to spend all of my fab on him just out of necessity. Ben's
not going to be trying to get him.
True, that is true. I think Madison's probably my number 1.
Ben says,
"There we go." I'm back, everybody. Thank you very much. I probably like Madison the best, Barber the least. He had one really good game. He had a great game last week, but I just haven't trusted the Raiders' running game so far. Especially, I'm not a huge fan.
I just got whiplash last Saturday. You're saying Madison's the worst in the world. He burned me last year.
He did.
Away from him.
He did.
He's my favorite pickup on the waiver wire. What?
Out of these three, probably look. All of these three players except Chuba have burned me at some point.
Let me explain this here, Judah. See, like in scientific terms, in purely scientific terms, what happened was in Chicago, Justin Fields got hit so many times that the impact actually had like a ripple effect out to other people around the city and the state. We can't blame him for any sort of, we can't hold anything that he says tonight against him because the shockwaves are still being felt around Chicago.
Oh no.
You know what? I think I'm not even gonna deny that. I'm gonna claim a Nagy fatigue as my illness today. Anything I say cannot be used against me in a court of law. A fantasy law.
I mean, here's my problem though with Madison is that I mean, he's got the guy ahead of him that's hurt the least, maybe. I think, aren't we looking at Dalvin Cook being back next week? He's got the littlest injury.
Honestly, I completely forgot that he was only out for a week. Like Jared's completely right. I'm so rattled right now.
Rattled.
So I would even say, like, I mean, if you're a Dalvin Cook owner, I think you need to have Madison on your bench. I mean, I think that just for most people became standard operating procedure after we kind of got acquainted with Dalvin Cook. So basically the percentage owned, I think for Madison, it's like 69%. Another guy that we could kind of throw in that category, since it's similar, 72%, is the guy we just talked about a minute ago, is Nahim Hines. And that's still a little sketchy. We saw last year that he's not somebody that can be counted on every week. We've seen that this year. Week 1 he had 11.2 points. Week 2 that was down to 2.7, and then back up to 16.4 this week. So you know that you can kind of get burned by that. But just while we're talking about running backs, I think he's got to be sort of in the conversation there. And there's going to be people that are out there in need. I mean, James White has gone down. He's out indefinitely. He's got a hip issue, and those can, we've seen from Kenny Golladay and the like, how those can linger. Another guy that I think, just again, sticking with running backs, suddenly after doing nothing, I think he might have even been a healthy scratch in week 1. Zack Moss now over the past 2 weeks has a total has a quiet total over the past 2 weeks of 31 points.
Oh man, that's crazy.
And he's 54%. He's 54% owned. I mean, week 2 it was he was living off of 2 touchdowns. Week 3 he was up to 13 carries, and then in the passing game he was able to haul in 3 targets for 31 yards and a touchdown. So Zack Moss is another guy. So I think there's going to be, and rightly so, a lot of everybody's going to be on Chuba. Yeah, but there's actually, for all the time that there's just nothing on the waiver wire in terms of running back, there's actually, I think, a fair amount this week.
Finally, for the first time in who knows how long.
Right. And even though I just got through talking about receiver depth and, how crazy receiver depth is, there are leagues, even though I have, some leagues where I have 3 spots to play and 6 guys that could realistically start, But then I have leagues where I had T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, and Sterling Shepard, and AJ Brown, and then they're all four hurt. So I think there's some guys out there. A guy I picked up in one league was Cole Beasley, and that worked out well for him. If he's 53% owned, 2 out of his 3 games, he's had 13 targets in each of those games, double digits in each of those 2.
The bees. AJ Green, AJ Green's out there.
Judah picked him up in a league, and he did well for him. And looks like the Raiders receivers might actually be for real. Like all of them, like Hunter Renfrow, Henry Ruggs, Brian Edwards. They're all, 2 out of 3 weeks. Brian Edwards has been in double figures. Hunter Renfrow, 2 out of 3 weeks, barely missed it. Third week, and then Ruggs. Let's see, Ruggs. Followed up a good week last week, hit double digits again. So they're not getting a ton. It's kind of like skirting that 10-point line. But if you're in a deeper league, then they can, I think, provide some value.
Is anybody going out and getting Gordon?
Not me.
This early? No. He's not. He's not rostered.
I will never touch him again. Yeah, he's going to be on. He's going to be on the. He is on the Chiefs.
Yeah. That was the big news today. Is he got signed by Chiefs, and the who was it?
Okay.
I think it was Adam Schefter that was like, this is the Chiefs lineup: Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and then he named off all these guys, and then put Josh Gordon in, and like you could throw me in that Chiefs lineup, and that Chiefs lineup is still going to be impressive no matter how much I drag it down. So to add Josh Gordon in, it's like this isn't 2013, the last time that Josh Gordon had a good year. It's not 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We're 8 years later now. So it's been 2 since he played football. So I just, he's 30 years old, which, I mean, that's not super old, but I mean, when you've been in NFL terms, it's, you're already out of your prime, but when you've been away from the league and I can't do the Josh Gordon thing again.
No, I promised myself I never would again. Never.
It's a bad situation when people are making promises to themselves, like I will never do this again.
All right. Well, so do you guys have any tight ends that you'll be picking up on the waiver wire? We talked about a couple of them that are out there. Knox we talked about him. If you're in a desperate spot for tight end, you might be somebody you want to go get. AJ, do you have anybody that you've been targeting or that you see on there that you might consider?
For tight end?
Schultz?
No.
Conklin?
Tremble. I'm sorry. No offense. It's kind of a ghost town at tight end right now, where if you get 6 from the waiver wire, you're basically considered lucky at this point. I mean, like you said, Knox is the best one, I think. Freiermuth, I think, is going to be okay as a red zone threat. Big Ben's always like throwing to tight ends. Remember back with Heath Miller for years, and then even Eric Ebron was good for like 8 weeks until Pittsburgh, stopped throwing the football farther than 5 yards downfield. So I feel like he could be a deeper boomer bust. But outside of that, it's really hard to find someone consistent. Hunter Henry's in a really weird looking offense. Gerald Everett doesn't get the targets for me. Austin Hooper, I think, is okay, but he's splitting time with Njoku, who's getting minutes now, like officially getting minutes without being injured. And even Max Williams for Arizona, like I said last week, he's in an offense where anybody's going to catch the football. Like, remember Rondale Moore? Yeah, I did. Got me a whopping 2 in one league. And Christian Kirk's sitting on my bench with a nice little 10 because he just apparently has the safest floor out of everybody on that roster. So tight end to me is kind of a ghost town. Sorry.
So,
go ahead, Jared.
So I got to bring this up and throw this in because I didn't. Okay. Do you know who the number 6 scoring tight end is so far this year? Number 6.
Logan Thomas.
Dawson Knox. I did not know that. I did not know that when we were talking about that before. I was not looking at what his overall point total was, just looking at like future possibilities. But yeah, Logan Thomas is number 5, to your point, AJ.
I was close.
Dawson Knox is number 6. He's ahead of George Kittle. He's ahead of Mark Andrews. He's ahead of Noah Fant. He's ahead of Tyler Higbee. He's ahead of Kyle Pitts. It is Dawson Knox.
Wow. So go out and get him. Put him on your bench. See what happens. I mean, it is a wasteland. Might as well get the number 5 tight end. Number 5?
6.
Number 6. I knew that. Anthony. Yeah, he sealed his victory against me. Hurts got a touchdown.
Yep.
They should have pulled him. They should
the
have
undefeated
pulled him.
run is over.
Yeah, for now.
It's and to him saying, AJ, you're next. Look, I'm not confident. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. I'm just gonna look. I beat Jonathan Buster though this week, so now I don't know if y'all noticed his team name is his. So he tried to taunt me by the Ice Rink Falcons by making his team Ice Baby, finish with a whopping 67.
He did that with all of us.
Well, except Jared.
He played me, and then he played
Jared, then you, then
Jared,
me,
and then me, and then you.
And he's
And
1 and 2.
He changes.
There it is.
Judah's meaning he changes his name every time. Yeah.
Yeah, he changed his name to like the violent Buddhist or something against me. I'm like, I rolled over.
But what you may not have noticed is his team name is now I Can Only Beat Jared.
Nice.
Hey. I'm in a couple leagues with him, and he's struggling. He's struggling. But so
wait, who? Me or Jonathan?
Jonathan.
Oh, he's struggling with you. Okay,
Yeah,
I was gonna say my teams are okay except for our league, which is horrible. But
no, I'm talking about Jonathan. He's him and I are sort of at the bottom in our league. So that we're in. It's that IDP league. Oh, stab my eyes out. Okay, so who is somebody else? Let's just get a couple more waiver wire or beat the waiver wire. What is it? Sleeper wire that we can. Where is it? Let me play this.
Oh, I gotta mention this too. Is
okay.
So coming out of this week, I will.
Oh no!
I will have more. It looks like more points than AJ in our league, but I will be 0-3, and he will be 2-1. So as bad as my team is, I have to stick up for it a little bit here and say it's not as bad as it looks. Well, it might be as bad as it looks, but that's still pretty bad because I have like the 13th most points in the league. So
yeah,
I know. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm
gonna have a 14.
I haven't scored over 85 so far.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that really helps your case. Everything.
Well, I mean, overall, before this week, I was like 6th or 7th in points. So it was okay. But now I've had a terrible week. So it's not so good.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks, Dak. You're doing great.
What has he got? Like 5 points, 6 points?
Oh,
he's got 9.32. And this is after an 8.48 last year. So last week.
Last week, yeah.
So, that Tampa in week 1 was super nice. Got off to a nice start, but Amari's been hurt. Well, I guess we also have to consider like they're leaning on the run. Amari's hurt.
They've got a better defense than people thought they're going to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do we have anybody you want to go out and get as far as defense or kickers? There's a couple of defenses I think would be interesting to pick up because we know a little bit more now at this point who you want to play your defenses against, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to play against Jacksonville. You want to play against the Jets, of course. Surprise.
Yeah,
you
Chicago.
Play against Chicago. Yeah, Chicago.
You can say it. I'm not going to be offended.
Chicago. So, are there any defenses that we should try to get? Maybe even get off the waiver wire, use a little fab to give us a little leg up, or kickers. AJ, it looks like
I've got kickers. We'll do. We could do defense first. Since
Okay.
we got that up first.
I mean, because personally, I was looking at actually picking up Dallas, and I told a couple people, go out and get them. Before the game, go out and get them. Drop your, the worst player you can, or whoever, and Yahoo, you can just drop anybody who's on your bench. Just play that. Just drop that guy, that you picked up on hopes that he'd do okay, and pick up Dallas's defense, because I think I've heard a lot of people talk about how they're way better than everybody thinks.
They got I guess the Falcons' old coach as their defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, I believe. And that was what, oddly enough, like the Falcons defense was always terrible in Atlanta. It was like the worst part of the team. But when he was in Seattle, they were good. So maybe when he's able to focus on defense, they'll be good. So Dallas has been surprising. The defense has been weird this year. All the teams that we thought we were going to be good, almost all of them been terrible, or at least, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Tampa, the Rams, Washington, who some people thought was going to be the number one.
They've been the worst.
Indianapolis was a popular sleeper pick. They're terrible. So it's all like, teams that are sort of, mostly teams that they're surprising you. And Dallas is one that, they've posted pretty good point totals against two good offenses in the Bucks and the Chargers. 7 points, that's respectable. They're having a good night tonight, and then they get a stretch of Carolina without Christian McCaffrey, the Giants and they're turnover prone, then New England with a rookie quarterback, and before their bye in week 7. So they've got, kind of a good little stretch coming up here. They're in the NFC East, where they'll play Washington,
terrible teams,
the Giants, the Falcons.
Eagles.
So I think they're not a bad pick. I preemptively picked up a little bit of Cincinnati.
Also surprising defense.
Very surprising.
Cincinnati's done okay. The first couple of weeks, 5 points, 6 points, nothing to write home about. They did well against Pittsburgh, and then now they get Jacksonville this week.
Nice, good call.
So it's a Thursday night game, but it's not a short week. It's not a short week for Jacksonville because they played the Thursday night game. Or wait, no, they didn't.
No, they didn't. They didn't.
No, I'm sorry.
That's going to be a good defensive play.
So it's a short week, and they get them at home. So I picked up some Cincinnati. And just all the ones that you name. And what's funny is Yahoo's projections put Chicago as the number 2 defense this week against Detroit. Man, though,
Detroit looks shockingly good.
I was talking about that earlier. I was saying, like, they are not, poop of the league, at least we could say.
Yeah.
Now they are 3-0 or 0-3, like as Jared pointed out. It's
a respectable 0-3.
That's what I was saying.
There's a difference. Wait, why wasn't I here earlier?
Jacksonville to me is looking worse than the Lions.
By far. They weren't beating the Packers at halftime.
Yeah, you need to go back and listen to it just for a phrase that Judah, like, word salad shooter out of his mouth, where he's trying to talk about tight ends. And I still don't even know exactly what he tried to say, but you need to go back and watch just for that phrase.
Will do.
Another one to pick up would be New Orleans. New Orleans is a solid defense. They're doing good pretty much against everybody. They've got they struggle a little bit against Carolina, which is a divisional thing. Mm-hmm. So but 20 against New England, 15 against Green Bay. They're a good defense, and in particular, their run defense has been solid.
Yeah, and their schedule is another one that looks great. They get Giants and Washington back to back, and then Seattle, which I mean, they haven't looked. They have not looked like world beaters so far this year. So that's another one you can hold on. But then you got Tampa, which I mean you might have to slug through. But then Atlanta, Tennessee, Philly. It's not bad. It's not bad. I think they're actually number one defense right now. I think overall.
Are they? Wow.
I think so.
And they're on the waiver wire in most places.
Yeah, 52% of leagues are on waivers. Yep.
Nice. We have one more comment before we go. Miles, our favorite guy, because I can't pronounce it. I'm not sure. I think it's Miles.
People, please stop coming up with creative spelling for your team. Stop. Controversial. Stop it, Miles. Stop it. You're confusing Judah. You're confusing Judah too much, and then we have to spend too much time on him. We have to spend too much time on him trying to correctly pronounce the name. Stop it.
Well, also, he says WSP. Is that what's up? What's up?
I think so. Yeah.
I share a team with my dad this year, and please tell me how. Tell me his is crazy for he. Oh, tell me his.
There we go.
Patterson over Cooks, even if Cooks plays next week. I don't know. Patterson's looking like a decent play. He's not going. I mean, it seems like he's going to get at least 50% of the touches. It's in a terrible team, but he could do worse. I mean, if you were excited about Davis, you got to be at least a little excited, or at least willing to play Patterson.
See, I want to say your dad's crazy, and on an ordinary week, I'd say your dad is crazy for thinking that. But Patterson led the team in yards last week for Atlanta in receiving yards, and Brandon Cooks still has Davis Mills at quarterback. And yes, he got 100 yards, but the Bills are a much tougher defense than Carolina is, and that's the only thing that scares me. If they weren't playing the Bills, I would instantly say, yeah, you should start Cooks there, but I don't know how much I like Davis Mills going up against Buffalo in Buffalo next week. That could be a game where he completes like 10 passes for 110 yards. So, he's talking about Dalvin Cook. Yeah, your dad is crazy.
Well, is you talking about this week or next week?
He's talking about Dalvin Cook.
I know, but Dalvin, I'd play anybody instead of Dalvin this week.
Oh, well, I mean, if Dalvin Cook's playing, no, look, you've got to like go to your dad and say, listen, we appreciate what you've done for the organization, but we're restructuring, and you can have sort of a figurehead position, but you're no longer going to be making lineup decisions. So this is just what you tell your dad. Look. Fantasy football is business. You know, maybe there aren't many things that come before family, but fantasy football is one of them, and you have to do what's best for your team here. Yeah. So, and also I'll say, I had a friend ask me, he's like, am I crazy for thinking of starting Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen this week? And I'm like, no, you're not crazy. That's not out of the realm of possibility, but I wouldn't do it. And then now we're seeing why you don't get too cute with stuff like that. Like, I think you got to have really good reasons. And I don't know that there's if it was some scenario where it was like this past week where you've got Cordell Patterson going in an early game, and Dalvin Cook's not going till later, he's sounding doubtful, and you don't have another option.
Right.
Okay. But otherwise there's no real scenario where you can do that.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
Actually,
he
says, FYI, I'm talking about Dalvin, and we are on
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I would play him with Dalvin Cook if you need a wide receiver, but And that it could be a nice little tricky play. But I mean, if you can't find a wide receiver that can get you 10 points. All right, what are you looking at? Update.
I'm looking at the game and trying to figure out what just happened on a play where Dak. I don't even know how to describe what just happened. I think it was a busted play where he thought that there was a running back in the backfield and there was nobody there. It's like he runs back to hand the ball off and there's nobody there. And then he kind of like runs forward. They're inside the 15. And then he ran forward and then he just slid down. I really don't know what he's doing right now. I've just seen two of the weirdest plays. Now he just rolled out again, started to throw the ball, decided not to, and then just took a huge hit. I don't know what
I'm watching it.
I don't know
What?
Like crazy.
I mean,
the guy does not know how to get rid of the ball.
I guess the hit wasn't that bad after all. It looked from the first angle, it looked bad. He got arm tackled.
No, it wasn't a bad hit, but I mean, it puts him way back there. He didn't get rid of the ball.
I don't know what's happening right now. It's like
it's an NFC East game, Jared.
Well, this is the ugliest win I've seen. We actually, all our viewers have now, thanks to Jared, gone away from us to watch the game, and we are alone.
We're almost done, and I think people need to see what just. Yeah. We've got to like crowdsource what just happened on the field with those two plays right there. So
I have no idea. I'll tell you this though. Dak is not as good as people will have you think.
I agree. I agree with that. I agree that he's not as good, but if he's
Ben is still with us, by the way. What?
Oh,
let's go.
No, I was just gonna say if when he has CeeDee Lamb, Amari, Michael Gallup, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, decent tight ends with Schultz and Blake Jarwin. You don't have to be. I mean, I still like him as a fantasy player if everybody's healthy, but man, I don't know what he was just doing right there. Like that like those two plays terrify me for the rest of the season. They were that bad. They were that bad.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Me, Les, Miles, Charlie. See, I can put them as two people. Charlie, Zygmunt. We've got a bunch of people that joined in tonight. Anthony, dude, good job on the win. But next time I see you, I'm not going to be playing friggin' 1 point Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, we also have to give a shout. Oh, we didn't get to. We need to very quickly do kickers and give a shout out to because we didn't do kickers, right? And give a shout out to Justin Tucker. Record 66-yard field goal, not in Denver either. Yep. He did that in a dome, and I don't know what the altitude of Detroit is, but I don't think it's that high. So
I think it's
super impressive. Yeah,
and he doinked it in. On top of that, I mean, made it look fancy.
And it was not right after, but it was fairly close after somebody tried to do the same thing, kicked it into the hands of some returner who returned it for 109 yards.
The Cardinals game, I think it was. Yeah. Is Zane Gonzalez still the kicker for? He's still the kicker for Arizona.
Yeah, I think so.
No. It's
I can't remember.
It's Matt Prater.
Matt Prater, right? Oh, right. Which is ironic because he was the one who held the record, so he tried to set it, and they got a 109-yard kick return back on him, which then Jacksonville then gave the game away, as Jacksonville does, by running the worst flea flicker in the history of the NFL. Did you guys have a chance to see that? It was the sloppiest pass back. Trevor Lawrence almost died, and he just flung the ball 15 yards downfield. It was the easiest pick six in the history of the world. It was bad.
Nice.
All right. Well, are there any kickers that would be worth picking up? I mean, we see Greg the Leg missing a couple of easy kicks tonight. So who would you go out and get that you? I mean, Carlson's still out there, by the way.
Yeah, Carlson is
That's nutty.
He's and he's got double digits every week. He's only available in one of my leagues. I've got him in.
He's available. He's only 66% rostered, so I mean he's available in 34% leagues.
Yeah. Do you have? Because I've got a guy I'm thinking of. AJ.
Go ahead. Yeah.
If so, a guy that I didn't pick up enough of. I picked him up in several places, and then I think I dropped him in a couple to switch to Prater. Still have him in a few. Broncos kicker Brandon Mcmanus.
Yeah, there it is.
So
solid every time.
Week 1 was his lowest point total. He had 9. He had 13 in week 2 and 16 in week 3. Now, bear in mind, those 3 teams they were playing were the Giants, Jags, and Jets. But I think that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't still. I think their offense is good enough to still get in scoring position. And so I don't know that his field goal, or I don't know that his point total is going to drop. But he is only 34% rostered, so he's available in a lot of leagues. Yep. Whereas a lot of these other guys, the word is kind of out on them. And I think people probably just don't trust that the Broncos offense will keep it up. So that's why you can still get him in a lot of them.
Yeah.
You have anybody?
One for me. I do. I actually do. I kind of have 2. One of them is Nick Folk, who I think a lot of people are going to notice and start picking up. Because he's just done great for the Patriots and they just can't seem to get it into the end zone. But the other one that I like a lot is Minnesota's kicker Greg Joseph. He's had 8 and 13 in back-to-back weeks, and the Vikings have a very good offense that gets down to the red zone but don't always score. And I'm looking at guys like Ryan Suckup, who's great, but the Bucs score too many touchdowns for him to do great in fantasy. Or like Atlanta, Youngway is one of the best kickers in football, but Atlanta can't get down the field enough for him to score. And these are guys that are still owned absolutely everywhere. Suckup's 80% owned. Youngway is 86% owned. And Greg Joseph is 4% owned right now. So he is literally everywhere. And I think the Vikings offense is going to be one of those ones that's consistent enough to score points. And it's not like they have terrible matchups. Like the one worry for what's his name, Mcmanus, for me, is that his schedule gets pretty tough. Denver's
pretty tough.
But Joseph, Detroit, Carolina,
kind of dipping in and out.
Yeah.
Okay,
those
gotcha.
are some good ones.
Yeah. All I'm saying, he's got a nice schedule.
Nice.
I have to say this real quick too. On that point, Greg Joseph is 4% rostered, and he has 34 points this season.
Yeah.
Josh Lambo, the Jaguars kicker, is 3% rostered, 1% less, and he has a total of 5 points this season.
Yeah. Nobody likes Blankenship either because of his bad first game, but I would go out and get him. He is. A lot of people dropped him off of that first. Let me see where he's at.
Yeah.
He is only 47% rostered. I would pick up Blankenship. He's solid. I think he's solid double digits every week.
And
really
the Colts are gonna struggle in the red zone. They just will. So.
They really are. And then Jason Sanders is still out there in about 50% of leagues. Go get him. He's fine. Like, who's gonna be their quarterback? They're gonna rely on their kicker, man. He's the most reliable guy on their team.
What we're seeing is that there's too many good kickers available, and the format needs to really shift to 2 starting kicker spots.
No.
Yes. Jared for commissioner 2022.
2 tight ends, 2 kickers. That's how real fantasy players play.
Would it kind of balance it out?
That would be really funny if we made like next year the Roto Hackers Stupid League, 2 tight ends, 2 kickers, and IDP.
That would be interesting. All right. Well, that's all I've got and ready to go. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I need to bail.
Me to bail. Good night, everybody. You guys say good night.
Good night.
Good luck
Adios.
next week. I don't know. Oh, on the waiver wire.
Cheers.
Luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I don't know. Good night.
Us McCaffrey owners are going to need it.